Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're in a weird corner of my room by my second bookshelf, and I wanted to do something kind of fun and silly and a little bit low-key. So that's why we're sitting on the floor, we're hanging out. I have my iced coffee, I have a wonderful chocolate chip gluten-free cookie that I'm going to be snacking on, and I have a whole stack of books as well as Goodreads loaded up on my phone. So we're going to be doing reading Goodreads 1-star reviews of my favorite books. I know a lot of people have done this. I saw Kat do it over at Paperback Dreams, and obviously that was the inspo for this video. But I thought that it would be fun, and I just wanted to torture myself by reading 1-star reviews of books that I adore and have such a deep connection with. So I have some more recent favorites, and then I have some like all-time favorites. We're gonna go loosely in the order of like least favorite to most favorite, if that makes any sense. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so I thought that the Pisces would be a fun one to start with because this is a 4-star for me. For some reason, it just isn't a 5-star, but I think about this on a weekly basis, if not a bi-weekly. I don't know how many times a week I think about this book, but I think about it very often, and it comes up a lot in recommendations and things like that. So I would consider this a favorite, even though it's not a 5-star. So that being said, let us look up some reviews of the Pisces. Alright, so I have my laptop because apparently Goodreads on mobile cannot filter by star ratings. So good for you, Goodreads, but my computer can. So here we are with the Pisces. So the first one is someone says, "A big fuck no from me. This was awful in so many ways." That's the entire review. Thank you for telling us why. Okay, someone else said, "Does the character in this book need therapy, or do I need therapy for reading this book?" I mean, maybe both, honestly. Like, the character in the Pisces 100% needs therapy and, like, sort of goes to therapy at one point, but then ditches it. So, yes, this character does need therapy. She's having some trouble. She just definitely needs some therapy. But, yeah, you might need therapy if you read this book. That's honestly that's not even a bad review. That's just true. Alright, so the same person goes on to say, "Lord knows that I will read anything, and I love to diversify my literary palette. A book about a woman having some merman relations? Okay, I'll give it a try. But this book almost killed me." Now, I just might be channeling my inner drama queen tonight, but I emerge among the high ratings and glowing reviews and must admit utter surrender. Although I am not sure if it was the main character going the extra mile to prepare for... Can't say that. Ooh, but I weep for the bygone days of the good old-fashioned bodice ripper, half joking. Like, is that the standard? Is that, like, what we expect from, like, this isn't a romance. Like, this isn't meant to be, like, sexy. I mean, yeah, I guess maybe it is a little bit, but, like, it's a weird book. You just have to accept that. Okay, here's another one for the Pisces. "I want to go back to the person I was before I read this book. Honestly, one of the worst books I've ever read. When I first started it, I was going to compile a list of the reasons why I disliked it, but by the time I got to chapter 2, I realized that would be futile because I have to compile a list that's 74 pages long. Just know that the main character is a self-centered piece of trash that hurts everyone around her, is incredibly judgmental. Sis, how you going to be judgmental when your life is like that? And continuously laments over how awful it is to be alive." I mean, yeah. Like, this is the thing about reading 1-star reviews. It's like, yeah, you have a point. Like, she is an absolutely awful human being, but I still want to root for her, and I'm still like hoping that it'll turn out differently. Even though I've read this book like 2 times or 3 times, I still keep hoping that it'll go a different direction, but it doesn't. So am I offended at these reviews for the Pisces? Not totally, because I get it. Okay, let's look up a more recent 5-star for me. Okay, let's up the stakes a little bit. Let's talk about Clara and the Sun by Kazu Ishiguro, which is a recent favorite. I read this in June, and it's going to be, if not my favorite book of 2021, one of my favorite books of 2021. So this one is going to hurt a little bit more, so let's see what the people of Goodreads have to say. Oh, this is incredible. "Wearing sunglasses for this review because I am anti-Sun and anti-Clara. I wish I had quotes to put at the front of this review, but nothing remarkable grasped my attention long enough to want to highlight it. I have such a strong dislike of this novel, I will not be carrying up spoilers in my review. Okay, I won't read the whole review. Just know that she spoils the entire thing and then writes at the end, "Thank you, next." So, I don't know how to feel about this. Like, I understand people disliking books, but Clara and the Sun is such a fitting title for this novel. It is. I mean, it is literally about Clara and the Sun. The novel begins with Clara, an artificial friend, blah, 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 blah. Because this novel is in her point of view, the dictation is very straightforward and simplistic. I don't think dictation is the right word for that, but moving on. She knows she needs the sunlight to survive. Is she a plant? And values its importance. Therefore, the first fourth of the novel is Clara in the shop window and her observances of the sun. So she mainly just talks about how Clara is obsessed with the sun, and there's like a lot of descriptions of the sun, which she's not wrong. But also, you can't talk about Ishiguro's work and then proceed to use the wrong word for point of view and perspective. Like, not to be rude, but like, okay, someone else says, "Oh my god, I fucking hate this book. I'm so angry. Have you ever read this book, or did you just nominate it for the Booker Prize because it's fucking Kazu Ishiguro? I guess I'm just too dumb to see the literary value of this book." Let's say that the plot and characters aren't important here. Let's look at those grand themes that make a book worthy, shall we? Well, we can't, because whatever he was trying to explore here has already been done, and done better in other sci-fi books. Like, it's the most cliche subject ever. There's literally no originality here. Oh my god, I'm so angry. The assertion that there's no themes in this book also just pisses me off, because I wrote like such a long thing, like such a long book review over on my Instagram and on Goodreads about like all of the themes and all of the things that happen in this book that point to like real life situations. Now, granted, I don't read much sci-fi, so to me this felt like a new topic or something new and interesting. Like, before this, the only like AI related thing that I had read was Foe by Ian Reid, so this is like a fairly new topic to me, and the point of view of a robot is not something that I've read before. So to me, it's like very new and interesting. All right, one more for Clara and the Sun. Someone says, short summary, robot, sun, AI, friend, sun, 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 sick kid, and then a bunch more suns. How is that a 1-star review? That's just a summary. That's just what it is. I guess the point here is that it's all very subjective, and while I think there are truths to what people are saying in 1-star reviews, especially of Clara and the Sun, like, it really isn't plot driven. Nothing really happens, or not a lot happens, at least until the twist at the end. So yes, I agree, not a lot happens, but the question of, is it literary, and does it have themes? That to me just completely boggles my mind. Of course it has themes. I'm not usually this salty and opinionated in videos, so welcome. I hope you're enjoying. All right, let's move on to another pretty weird book that I'm sure people are going to have some interesting opinions on. Don't mind me. I'm just going to eat my cookie while I wait for Goodreads to load. So we're going to be talking about Hysteria by Jessica Gross, which I read last December and gave 5 stars. I really, really loved it. I haven't read it since. I would really like to reread it just to like refresh it in my mind. But I loved it. So let's see what the people of Goodreads have to say about Hysteria. Okay, the first 1-star review says, well, after completing a book and wasting like 3 hours of your day, do you ever feel like, why can't I remember anything about this book? But then you feel like that's because nothing actually happened. Well, I'm going through that phase. I completed this book an hour ago, and honestly, I don't remember anything I read, except for the fact that I thought of DNF. I thought of DNF it like 1, 2, 3, 4 times, but still I kept reading because I hate myself, and what could be the better way than to read a book you disliked right from the first page? Well, that wasn't really grammatically sound, but beyond that, so summing up my ideas. 1, my brain committed suicide. 2, I don't know what the fuck I just read. 3, honestly, somebody please explain me the plot, theme, anything. 4, why don't I read synopsis before picking up the book? 5, this was terrible. And 6, covers can be misleading. Okay, let's break this down. 1, my brain committed suicide. I don't think it did, because you're still alive and you're writing this, so I think you're okay. 2, I don't know what the fuck I just read. Fair point. You finish this book and you're like, what just happened? What did I just read? But that's what I love about it. 3, honestly, somebody please explain the plot, theme, anything. All right, let me explain the plot. Our female main character, she's narrating this book. She has a problem with a sex addiction, and she goes into a bar, and she frequents this bar and kind of picks guys up there and sleeps with them. She walks into a bar and thinks she sees Sigmund Freud because her father's a psychologist, and he was very, very into Freudian stuff. So in essence, she is taking something from her childhood and putting it into a sexual form, which is basically as Freudian as it gets, and it's about Freud. So it all just comes together. And also hysteria was the name of the condition that Freud and a bunch of other people from his time period sort of slapped on any woman who had any mental health issues and any bodily issues, just like physical health issues. So it's very thematic and it's very historical and it just comes together. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking because I'm mad now. Okay, question number 4. Why don't I read synopsis before picking up the book? I don't know. I picked up this book, I read the inside flap, and I was like, yes, this is the book I need to read. And it delivered. It was exactly what it said it was going to be. So I tell you, I beg you, please read the synopsis. Number 5, this was terrible. Oh, that's your opinion. I don't know. 6, covers can be misleading. I don't know how this is misleading. It's just a woman's face upside down. Like, it's a woman's face. What does that lead you to believe? When I see a cover of a person's face, I usually think, this is going to be a book that focuses on one character, and it's probably going to be a character study or really delve into a mind of a certain person, and that's exactly what this is. So I don't know. I didn't think it was that misleading. Anyway, I think that's all I can take for Hysteria. So let us move on. All right, we're going to move on to another book that I gave 5 stars last year and really loved and is a favorite of mine, but I also think that it's just a masterpiece and a literary work of art. It is so incredible, and I feel like saying anything bad about the writing of this book or anything like that is going to hurt me so badly because it is such a beautiful book, and that is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. I have not met anyone in person that hasn't loved this book. So I wonder what the people of the internet will have to say about it. Okay, I'm gonna get upset right now. This person says, author is a drama queen. This book could have been contracted to 50 pages max, and yet she rambled and rambled for an excess of 220 pages. 220 pages is not excess. 220 pages is a short fucking book. Oh my god. Plot summary. Ex-girlfriend has multiple personality. Great grammar. Screams at her. She wonders if it was really domestic abuse or not because she couldn't confirm it with Google. Also because they were queer. Then she marries the ex of the girlfriend. The end. This is the kind of stuff that makes me absolutely hate the internet, because you're taking something that is a memoir. This is not a novel that needs plot development or anything like that. This is a memoir that someone has taken accounts of their life and terrible, awful things that have happened to them and put it in a incredibly written, unique, interesting format and presented it to us like, here, read about my trauma and get something out of it. Read this art that I made of my trauma and processing my trauma. That is such a beautiful, incredible thing, and it is done so well. And to just boil it down into girlfriend has multiple personalities, screams at her. That is just, oh my god. Okay, someone just says 1.5 self-pity party. I can't. If anyone else feels this way, just reevaluate how you're looking at abusive relationships and trauma, because oh my god, this book is so upsetting and so sad and so raw, and to just boil it down to self-pity, I can't. Okay, let's do another heavy hitter. I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This is the second to last one I'm going to do. This is going to really hurt me because this is a book that I absolutely adore. So again, let's see what the people of Goodreads have to say. Okay, the first review says, This was so bad. Convoluted, protracted, confusing. Even after reading the internet's interpretations and conspiracies and rave reviews, I still can't bring myself to appreciate any part of the story. I am very sorry you feel that way. That's all I have to say about that. Someone else says, what did I just read? The plot was so convoluted, and I was really bored throughout. It had an interesting premise, but the execution fell really flat. There's nothing more I can say. I just didn't like it. You know, this is the type of review that I don't mind as much, because you go into it with a certain expectation and it doesn't quite match up to your expectation, and you kind of mostly politely say, there's nothing more I can say, I just didn't like it. That's fine. You don't have to insult people's intelligence. You don't have to say anything mean. You're just saying it wasn't for me. And that's fine. But it's also frustrating because the point of the book is for it to be confusing and to immerse yourself in this crazy, weird world where you're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And it is convoluted, but that's the point. All right, here's a good one. This book was written by the most annoying nerd in your high school who thought he was smarter than everyone else, but never talked about anything remotely interesting. Fair. Most of this book takes place in the car where Jake and his girlfriend are just driving and talking about things. And most of it is just Jake talking about random topics that he knows about. So yes, it is nerdy. And yes, if you're not interested in the topics or interested in seeing what happens or anything like that, it could be boring. I could see how it could be boring. But the point is that he is nerdy. That is the point, and I love it. Okay, we're going to do one more. And of course, it's going to be The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This is my incredibly heavily annotated copy. This is my favorite book of all time. And let me just preface this by saying, I know this book has flaws. I know that this is a YA tropey kind of love story. I know that it kind of talks about teenagers in a way that's like overly intellectual, but there's so many things about this book that I absolutely adore, and I don't care if it's stereotypical. I don't care how people feel about it. I really don't care. This is my favorite book. So this is gonna hurt. I know it's gonna hurt, but I also acknowledge that it is not a literary masterpiece, but I do want it to be recognized as a very important book in the history of YA literature. So that's my spiel. Let's read what Goodreads has to say about it. This is funny. There are two compliments I can give The Fault in Our Stars. One, it didn't suck nearly as much as Paper Towns, but almost. And two, Hazel compares her air pump to a pet dragon sleeping on her on page 120. While I think the description is badly worded, I like the image it brings to mind. I don't understand what all the kerfuffle is over John Green. He's mediocre at best and insulting to teenagers at his worst. If I were a cancer patient, or I had a loved one suffering from cancer, this book would really piss me off. It still pisses me off, but from a more removed, reader insulted by John's bullshit point of view. He created this cancer story for the purpose of mocking cancer survivor type stories, for their sentimentality, their optimistic, look on the bright side message, but he falls into his own trap by writing a book that presents characters who are defined only by their cancer. This book takes the easy way out and is melodramatic and manipulative and a waste of time. So, I'm not as angry as I thought I would be. On the one hand, this person is right. I don't like John Green's other books. The only one that I think I might read and enjoy is The Anthropocene Reviewed, which is an essay collection. So I think I'll really like that one because the nonfiction vibes I think will work really well. But I hated Paper Towns. I hated Looking for Alaska. I tried to read An Abundance of Catherines. A lot of his other books I tried to read. I think all of them. And I hated all of them. So yes, John Green is not an author that I fully stan. I just stan this one book. But to say that the characters are only defined by their cancer, I sort of get what this person means about that, but I also feel like so much of this book is about the characters' personalities and their relationships with their families and their personal interests and all of that. And yes, a lot of it focuses on the cancer because that is the pressing issue in their lives. But there's so much more to this book, and I feel like when you reread it as many times as I've reread it, and I've annotated it, and I have pulled connections between the book, and no, it's not a literary masterpiece of, that deserves a Nobel Prize in literature. Like, I get that. But there's a lot in here that I feel like we can learn from and annotate and talk about, and I feel like people are not doing that. Not to say that I'm like some level of elite, that I understand the book and other people don't, but like just give it a chance and look a little bit deeper. That's all I'm asking. Just look a little bit deeper than what's on the surface, and then you can find those things that you just love about it. Or at least I have. And there's so many good quotes in here. There's so many funny parts. I love that it's a book about cancer that obviously is very sad at times, but there's so much humor and so many quotes that I say with my family like on a daily basis, and I just love it. So I think we're going to end it there because I don't think I can handle any more 1-star reviews. I think I did pretty well though. I mean, I got a little heated about some of the books, but I think I did pretty well overall. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of chaotic, silly little video. It's definitely not what I usually do, but it was a lot of fun to make. So I really hope you liked it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!